Oceangate, Stockton Rush, Narcissist, Part 7. A couple who sued Oceangate's CEO after he refused to refund their $210,000 trip have dropped their lawsuit out of respect for the victims killed in the Titan submersible. Mark and Sharon Hagel filed a lawsuit against Mr. Rush in February, claiming he had refused to pay back more than $200,000 for a deep-sea exploration in 2018, even after he cancelled the tour multiple times. A failure to make repayment of a significant sum of money is demonstrative of an absence of emotional empathy, a sense of entitlement, and a lack of accountability for his behaviour. Such as that he deems the request as a potential threat to control, he simply denies it, ignores it, forcing the Hagels to bring legal action. But they dropped it following the deaths of Mr. Rush, as well as British billionaire Hamish Harding, French explorer P.H. Nargileh, Pakistani businessman Shahdar Dawood, and his son Suleiman. Mark and Sharon Hagel paid tribute to the victims who died in the Titan sub. Like most around the world, we've watched the coverage of the Oceangate Titan capsule with great concern and an enormous amount of sadness and compassion for the families of those who lost their lives. The couple told Fox 35, in light of these tragic events, we have informed our attorneys to withdraw all legal actions against Stockton. We honour their zest for life, as well as their commitment to the exploration of our oceans. The couple had planned to go on a deep-sea tour with Rush's company in 2016, paying an initial $20,000 to secure their place. They then paid the full amount, around $200,000 2 years later. They claimed the dives were repeatedly cancelled by Mr. Rush, who refused to pay back their money. If their allegations are correct, the repeated cancellation shows a lack of accountability for the delivery of a service, although there could have been good reasons behind that. But moreover, even if there were good reasons, there should have been repayment of the money, but he's failed to do so, exhibiting entitlement and lack of accountability. Stockton Rush has been described as being on a predatory mission to find wealthy clients to endorse his deep-sea trips. Patrick Leahy, president of Triton Submarines, told The Times he was trying to stop potential clients from being dissuaded from going on the trip on safety grounds. He could even convince someone who knew and understood the risks. It was really quite predatory, said Mr. Leahy. This also demonstrates a level of persuasiveness on the part of Mr. Rush, and also a need to have his way. Mr. Leahy was a close friend of P.H. Nargileh, who also died on the trip. It's terribly sad that P.H.'s life ended that way, but P.H. knew the risks. I told him in very candid terms why he should not be out there. He understood. I believe P.H. thought in some way that by being out there, he could help these guys avoid a tragedy, but instead he ended up in the middle of one. I told P.H. that going out there in some way sanctioned this operation. I said, you're becoming an ambassador for this thing. People look at you and your record and the life you lead and the things you've done, which are extraordinary. And in some way, you are legitimizing what Oceangate are doing. This might, of course, be the concerns of a competitor, but it's evident that there is a care for the deceased individual and a concern for how his involvement was making things look. And another player in the industry regarding Oceangate's operation, which of course is Mr. Rush's business, as one that was not founded on firm principles of safety. We now turn to David Pogue. Now, interestingly, Mr. Pogue rode on the Titan submersible and undertook a detailed interview with Stockton Rush. And in a future part, I'm going to be analysing what was said in sections of that interview, because it provides us with further evidence and insight into the behaviour of Stockton Rush. But ahead of that, a CBS reporter who last year rode the Titan submersible that vanished off the coast of Canada with 5 people inside, which later imploded, explained that parts of the vessel seemed less sophisticated I was anticipating a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I got it, CBS correspondent David Pogue told USA Today's Five Things podcast. Pogue boarded the submersible for a CBS report that aired in November, alongside Oceangate CEO Stockton Rush. Pogue's account has drawn attention not just because it's a rare first-hand look at the experience of being in a submersible, but because of the snags it hit along the way. Pogue told USA Today on Tuesday afternoon that the Titan got lost for a few hours and couldn't find the wreckage of the Titanic during one of the dives on that trip. But unlike the current situation, it never lost all communication with crews on the surface. His report also highlighted some of the jerry-rigged parts helping the vessel operate. There were parts of it that seemed to be less sophisticated than I was guessing. You drive it with a PlayStation video controller. Some of the ballasts are old, rusty construction pipes, Pogue told USA Today. There were certain things that looked like cut corners. This, of course, is his opinion, but if it is correct, then this cutting of the corners shows a sense of entitlement, an absence for the concern of safety for those involved, and a placing of money over life. Pogue told USA Today that the people who pay to go down in the submersible are adventure lovers. They also have to have the means to pay the $250,000 fee to take the trip. This is adventure travel. This is for adrenaline seekers, people who live on the edge, he said. Rush told Pogue during their ride last year that the trip on the Titan shouldn't require a lot of skill on the passenger's part. We only have one button and that's it, Rush said in the CBS report. It should be like an elevator. Notice that Rush heralds this lack of sophistication as a good thing. Passengers assist with a variety of tasks on the submersible, according to Oceangate Expedition's website, including sonar operation, taking photos or videos, and assisting the pilot with communications between the sub and the surface. Pogue publicly addressed concerns with the Titan's construction in his CBS report. Despite the appearance of cut corners, he told USA Today that Oceangate CEO Stockton reassured him that the part that we care about, where the people are, the pressure capsule, is very high-end. He replied to a Twitter user Tuesday, saying there were many red flags that urged him to challenge Rush on the submersible's construction and the safety of future passengers. Pogue had already been concerned about the vehicle prior to his experiences on it. Yes, I was pretty terrified. I didn't sleep the night before at all, Pogue explained. He described in the CBS report a breakdown in communication that caused the submersible to get lost in an attempt to find the Titanic last summer. That trip down below was aborted before it could reach the wreckage, which he told USA Today was par the course for every excursion. This submersible doesn't have any kind of beacon like that. On my expedition last summer, they did indeed get lost for about 5 hours, and adding such a beacon was discussed. They could still send short text to the sub, but didn't know where it was. It was quiet and very tense, and they shut off the ship's internet to prevent us from tweeting. Notice there, the shutting off of the internet is clearly something that's being done to nullify any adverse publicity, and looks again like the assertion of control. The failure to involve a beacon also looks like another evidence of cost-cutting. As we move towards the conclusion with regard to what Stockton Rush is, we next turn to the very interview that has been foreshadowed in this part that takes us into detail of what was asked of Stockton Rush, and more importantly, what his responses were during this interview and what that all means. Join me there.